Welcome to Jules Voto's Photo Focus. In this video, the focus will be on answering more of your questions. But before I get to that, I'd like to announce the winner of the Minolta SRT 101 with 58mm 1.4 lens, a Minolta camera strap, the instruction manual, even a lens cap, believe it. And this was in response to my video that was published right around Labor Day, and the video was Ask a Question, Win a Camera. So the winner is Guy, G-U-I-S. Okay, Guy, I will be sending you a message to get your address so I could ship this camera out to you. So congratulations. Thank you to everyone who asked the question. I think there were about 13 or 14 questions. I've answered some in a previous video. I've replied to your comments in a few to answer your questions. So today I'm going to answer a few more. So in fact, I think this was the first question that had been asked. I'm just getting to it, however. It's from Nate Z. And Nate Z asks, how does the Nikomat FTN compare to the Nikon FTN? They're very similar. Of course, the same lens mount, both made by Nikon. The metering system is the same, center weighted. But the Nikon FTN, which is an FTN finder on a Nikon F, is a professional grade camera. The titanium shutter is rated to at least 100,000 shots, whereas the Nikomat is rated at 50,000. It's a Copal square shutter. The Nikon takes motor drives, interchangeable finders and screens, and is built to a very high standard. Not that the Nikomat isn't, it's just not as high a quality as the F. It does have a few advantages. It has a hinge back, which makes loading easier than on the F. It also has a higher flash sync speed, up to 1/125th of a second. But you're not going to be able to tell the difference in pictures because they take the same lenses. Okay, and both cameras hold the film very flat. Okay, now David S. asked the question about Nikon focusing screens. And I may have mentioned this in another video, or maybe it was that I responded to him. I will be getting to that. That was something I had in mind to do. So thank you for your question, David. Lee, L-E-L-E, asked the question, what's my favorite telephoto and why? That's a bit of a tough question. So I'm going to consider telephoto anything 85mm and longer. But when you get into true telephoto, you're really looking at something 200 and longer. The 85, the 105, the 135, they're more portrait lenses. You know, you get into the true telephoto, something you're going to use maybe for wildlife, when you get into the 200mm and longer lenses. I like, in that range, I like a zoom, a 70 to 200 zoom. I have the 70 to 200 f4 for a Nikon F mount with image stabilization. It's a great lens. It's much lighter than a 70 to 200 2.8. I do have an old 80 to 200 2.8, which is heavy, very sharp lens, no image stabilization. As far as a fixed focal length, the 200 f4 AIS is excellent. I have the 300 f4 AFS, also very sharp lens, no image stabilization. There is a newer model of that lens that does have vibration reduction. But I'm going to say the zoom is my favorite. It gives me the portrait range, you know, from 70 to 135 or so. And then it gives me a little bit of extra reach when going out to 200. It's light, it's sharp, and no problem taking it with me. Sometimes if I even want to travel lighter, I'll go with the 200 f4. But just real quick, and speaking to that, I mean, sharpness is important. But if you have a lens that's very heavy and you're going to be doing a lot of walking, you know, the 70-200 2.8s are great. Of course, a 300 2.8 is great for some things, but they weigh a ton, and you're going to be much less likely to want to be carrying it on long hikes. So it's better to take with you on a trip a lens you're going to use rather than one that you're going to leave back at the hotel. Okay, Joel T. asked this question, and I believe I answered him in a reply to his, in the comment section, reply to his question, but I just wanted to do that in the video. The f2 is called the best 35mm SLR. I'm just kind of paraphrasing from what he asked. Why do you think that the f3 and f4 failed to impress when introduced, and were the reservations warranted? I don't think that they failed to impress when they were introduced. Even the f2, when it was introduced, professional photographers who earn their living with their cameras are always a little reluctant to try the latest camera, you know, to put it in service immediately. So they had the old and true reliable Nikon F. The f2 came out, and some pros were a little slow to pick it up. It proved to be even a better camera than the Nikon F. Same thing when the f3 came out. Actually, I remember when the f3 came out that the f2AS bodies were actually selling for more than the f3, if I remember correctly. And if I am wrong, please correct me, someone out there. So again, people were sticking with their f2s. When the f3 came out, they were a little slow to adopt it, but eventually they did, and it proved to be an excellent camera, as the f2 did. The f4, I don't think quality-wise there was an issue with it. I just don't think the autofocus on the f4 was as good. In fact, I know from personal experience, the f4 did not have the autofocus, the speed of it, the ease of use as the Canon EOS 1 when that was introduced. I think the EOS 1 at that time was a superior camera for autofocus. And I think a lot of pros were a little slow to adapt to autofocus as well. And you know, Nikon got it together, and the f5 had much better autofocus than the f4. So I think they all stood the test of time. I mean, I think they all proved to be very reliable cameras. Okay, and Chris B asked, how is the f2 made? And this is going to be the last question for today. How is the f2 made? Not sure of exactly. I guess I should have, in the comments, responded to that and asked, you know, exactly what do you mean? The f2 actually, of course, is no longer made. That went out of production in 1980 when the Nikon F3 was introduced. It's made very well. It is an all-metal body, mechanical, doesn't require a battery for anything but the meter. They were made in Japan. A lot of the newer Nikons now, in fact, I don't think any Nikon bodies are made in Japan anymore. But that was always the mark of the higher end cameras that were made in Japan. Some were made in Thailand and China. It was just made very well. High quality materials were used, and of course that camera has stood the test of time. I still have a couple of them that work perfectly, and I know a lot of you out there do as well. So that's it for this video. My next video, I'll be answering a few more of your questions, and I will get to David's question on Nikon focusing screens. Nikon made a large number of screens, 18, 19, 20 for the F and F2, and also for the F3 and F4. Okay, so that's it for this video. I'll be answering more of your questions in my next video. And again, congratulations to Guy for winning the Minolta. Just because the contest is over doesn't mean you can't still ask questions. I'm very happy to answer your questions as best as I can. In a lot of cases, it will be through a video, and others I'll just respond to your question in the comments. Okay, so thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel.